All right, welcome back to NFL Picks, everybody. Got back to 500 last week after, through 2 weeks, I should say, of picks. So 7-6 record last week. We had 7-4 going into Sunday night, and then of course we lost the last two, unfortunately. The locks that haven't been good, but I'm going to stick with doing it because I said I was going to do it. I'm not just going to not, put them out there just because we're losing right now. So the overall record's good. The locks record is not. We'll see how we can do this week. And you guys wanted prop bets. I'm going to throw some prop bets into this real quick. I'm not a big prop bet guy myself. I more like to pick the games. I think there's a more logical element to that. Prop bets can get kind of wonky, but I'll throw some out there since you guys wanted them. I'm going to go. The three that I'm locked in on this week are Michael Pittman over 57 receiving yards against Buffalo. I like that because Buffalo hasn't really been tested. Indianapolis, despite the fact that they're kind of a mediocre team, is honestly going to be one of their first tests this year. So Michael Pittman in that game, I like over 57 receiving yards. Another few I'm throwing in there. Adam Trotman over 25.5 receiving yards against Philadelphia. I think New Orleans will try to integrate him a little bit more. I like Adam Trotman in this one. They've been trying to integrate him more as the season's gone along. So that's what I'm going with. And then Chris Godwin under 71.5 receiving yards against the Giants. I think this is a game where Godwin might not see much action, whether because it's a blowout, whether because Gronkowski reportedly has a real chance to come back. So those are the three prop bets I'm going with. Over receiving yards, Michael Pittman. Over receiving yards, Adam Trotman. Under receiving yards, Chris Godwin. So 3 receiving yard prop bets for you right there. Let's get into the lines this week. As always, not picking the Thursday game. Skipping that one. Patriots did a nice job cleaning up there. So we'll go from there. First up, Detroit, Cleveland. Cleveland minus 12.5. Coming out with something to prove after losing to New England. But Cleveland has just not been playing well recently. Not too well over the last couple of weeks. And Detroit, as we learned last week against Pittsburgh, and as I said going into that game, they play things close. So 12.5, a big number for Cleveland. I'm actually going to pick Detroit in this one. I'm going to take Detroit plus 12.5. I think that's a lot for the way Cleveland's playing, so I like that one. San Francisco minus 6.5 over Jacksonville. Two teams that obviously struggling for different reasons this year. Both kind of have shown flashes at times. Jacksonville obviously not as many, but their win against the Bills was somewhat encouraging. San Francisco 6.5, another big number, but especially for a road team. But honestly, San Francisco's playing well a lot, but better recently. So I'm going to have to go San Francisco minus 6.5 on this one. I think that they have, with what they did to the Rams, you have to imagine they keep that momentum rolling. So minus 6.5 San Francisco. I like that. I'll take that. Buffalo minus 7 at home against Indianapolis. This is an interesting one because as I said about the Michael Pittman bet, this is their first time being really tested this season, I feel like. But at home against Indianapolis, minus 7 still low enough that I think they'll be able to get the job done and cover that. I think it might be a 2-score game, but I don't see it being much more than that. So I'll take Buffalo minus 7 at home. Miami minus 3.5 over the Jets with Joe Flacco making his first start of the year. I think Miami's a pretty easy one. In fact, I'll make it a lock, even though my locks haven't been great this year. Minus 3.5 Miami, I'm taking that one. Carolina minus 3 over Washington. I took Washington last week. It paid off. I'm actually going to take Washington again. I don't love the idea of Cam Newton making that first start. He did some things in his first week back with Carolina, scored some touchdowns. So, maybe some encouraging signs there, but I don't like it. So I'm going to take Washington again, and I'm going to make that a lock. I'm going to double down on that. I really like Washington in this one. Baltimore minus 5.5 over Chicago. Chicago, obviously the big news this week. Khalil Mack out for the year. Baltimore, it's been up and down for them this season as well. It's been a roller coaster for a lot of the teams in the AFC. So with Baltimore, minus 5.5, it's different things in different places. I see it minus 6 some places, I see it minus 4.5 some places. It's all over the place, really. That line is moving and moving quickly. I will actually take Baltimore minus 5.5 in this one. I just think they're a far superior team, and I don't see them having too much trouble scoring on Chicago, despite the fact that Chicago's defense has some other nice players outside of Khalil Mack. I don't see them having too much of an issue there. Philadelphia minus 2.5 over New Orleans. Now, with everything working against New Orleans here, obviously having Simeon in the quarterback, not having a Kamara in there, and going against Philly, who's been trending in the right direction, and Philly having this rushing attack that's fourth in the league, I actually am going to take Philly in this one. I think Philly has a better quarterback. I think they have a better running game with Kamara out. I know New Orleans has Mark Ingram now. I don't think it's going to be enough. So I know it looks interesting, especially with the way those teams are coached and the pedigree you're talking about. It looks kind of intriguing to take that New Orleans number. I think Philadelphia minus 2.5 is the play. Houston, Tennessee. It's funny that Tennessee's the next one up because they were the team minus 2.5. They end up winning by 2. So that was one of the locks last week, and that was annoying. So now they're minus 10 against Houston, a big number for sure. And with Tyrod Taylor coming back, I wonder if Houston can actually hang with Tennessee a little bit. I mean, that minus 10 number is very big. Taking Houston plus 10 is an interesting proposition. Last week, they kind of hung with the Dolphins 17-9 in that game. But of course, the Dolphins were pretty banged up too. And, that they didn't exactly have their full complement of obviously Jacoby Brissett starting in that game. And they came back against the Rams, but that game was, they did that most of their scoring in garbage time. So they've been blowing out most of the year. Minus 10 for the Titans, the Red Hot Titans. I think, especially at home, it's a fair number. I think you're at least getting a push there, so I'll take it. Minus 10 for the Titans. I think that looks good to me. Next up on the list, Green Bay, Minnesota. Green Bay minus 1 on the road. That's a lock. That's easy. Minus 1 Green Bay. I don't know. I know they're on the road. I know Minnesota's been playing better. They won last week. I picked them last week, and their offense is really, really solid. But when you're talking about a team that's shown that they're probably the best team in the NFC, minus 1's too low a number. So I'm taking Green Bay for that. Cincinnati minus 1 over Vegas. Vegas has been trending in the wrong direction. Cincinnati has been 2. So 2 teams that started the season pretty hot, now struggling. Who's going to be the one to pick it back up? I just think Cincinnati has more talent offensively. So Cincinnati minus 1, I'm taking that. I think that's the better play here. One of the toughest games to pick this week, Arizona, Seattle. Arizona's favored by minus 1.5. And Kyler Murray's a game time decision. So you could really argue this could come down to whether or not Kyler Murray's going to play. And, you might have to pick it without knowing that information. I'm going to have to pick it without knowing that information. I don't think you guys will have to, going into that game on Sunday. I'll say this, and that's interesting because maybe I can hedge this a little bit. For myself here at least. But, honestly, I'll just pick it either way. I don't want to do if Kyler Murray plays, if he doesn't play. I'll just say Seattle plus 1.5. I think Seattle plus 1.5 when you're talking about the fact that they have Russell Wilson back, they have a week back of it. I know they struggled last week in Green Bay. Green Bay's a really good team. But I think Seattle, with their backs against the wall at home, knowing their season's on the line here, I trust them to play well enough to keep their season alive for now. So I'm going to take Seattle plus 1.5 with Arizona pretty banged up. And they didn't play great last week either. Remember, I know it was backup, but even across the board, they didn't play too well. All right, Kansas City minus 2.5 over Dallas. One of the games of the week here. This should be a fun one. Kansas City starting to play a whole lot better. But I'm going to take Dallas. I just think Dallas is a better football team. On the road, 2.5. Getting 2.5, I think that's fair. I honestly think that I don't have too much of a problem with that line. But I think it's a really close game. You could go either way, but I'm taking Dallas plus 2.5. I think they're the better football team, and I think they're going to come out and prove it in this one. And obviously coming off that huge win against the Falcons, Kansas City maybe thinking they've figured some things out, but have they really? Or is Dallas going to expose them a little more? I'm taking Dallas in this one. I think I don't know that Kansas City is back just yet. I think there's still some real problems with that team. Steelers, Chargers. Chargers favored by minus 5.5. With Pittsburgh on the road, possibly having to start Mason Rudolph. Another weird one with the COVID list. Don't know if Ben's going to start or not. I'm taking the Chargers. I think the Steelers are in a bad way right now. I think they're the team in that NFC North that ends up falling off and not making the playoffs. I know the Bengals are in contention for that title too, but I'm going to take the Chargers in this one. I just think too much is going wrong for Pittsburgh right now, and they're going to eventually, have to fold a little bit here. So Sunday night game. I think the Chargers take that one by more than 5.5. And finally, Monday night, Tampa Bay minus 10.5 over the Giants. I'm going to have to pick Tampa Bay in this one. I thought their line was a little too big last week when it came time to face Washington, but I think they bounce back this week, especially if Gronkowski's going to be back. I have to think that they're going to play a lot better. I know that Brady would love to stick it to the Giants, so I think that plays into this one as well. So Tampa Bay minus 10.5. I'm going to have to take them in this one. And those are the picks for this week, guys. Getting back over 500 this time is going to happen. So I wish we had that 9-4 record. It was shaping up like it was going to be so good. And those last two really screwed us. Obviously, the Titans winning by only 2 screwed us in the end there too. So all of those factors coming into play. Very annoying, but that's what we signed up for with this this stuff, these gambling picks. So I would say stick with the overall picks. Put a little bit of money on each because that's where I've been better this year. So thank you guys as always for watching. Appreciate it. Check out all the other NBA picks on the channel. Check out the post-game shows as well. I know that we had the Patriots post-game on Thursday, but Celtics post-game, Celtics pre-game going to be all over the channel. So thank you guys once again for watching. Really appreciate it. We'll catch you next time.